Hi guys, here's Andreas from Danmoto, and today I want to show you how we install our Highwayman 2-in-1 exhaust on the 2018 Softail model. That's a brand new bike directly from the factory. Has exactly 2 miles on it, brand new. So we take this one apart now and I show you how to install our exhaust. Very first thing you have to do is to remove the mufflers here in the back. It's rather simple. All you have to do is loosen the 2 clamps which hold the muffler, which one is here and one is here in the bottom. Then the mufflers are loose on the headers, and then you can take the mufflers off if you remove the bolts. Each muffler is held with 2 bolts. The upper one is held here, these 2, and the lower muffler has the bolts here. After you take it off, you can take the mufflers off. I show you now how to do it. So very first thing to do is to loosen the clamp bolts. Actually I cheated a bit, I just loosened them already a bit because I want to test it. So you just go in here, take a wrench, go on there. You can see it's a bit loose already, I loosened them in advance. Loosen this. Bottom, same thing, but for this I don't need the extension piece. Go on here, it's my wrench, go on the clamp, loosen it, and that's it. So now we need to take out the screws here on top, the bolts here. So I also use a wrench like this. I'm going to put it together once. And here's a bit tight, so make sure you don't scratch up the swing arm or something. Be a bit careful. There's no trick to it, just normal bolts. Just when you move, you see it's pretty narrow. Don't hit the exhaust or the swing arm or anything. Otherwise you just immediately have scratches on the parts. We take this one out now. Okay, that was the first one. First one. Now the second one. Okay, so I've just taken out the bolts here in the back, and now the muffler is loose, as you can see, because the bike has just been rented. It's now a bit hot, so I use a towel to hold it. I don't burn my fingers. Basically all you have to do now is just to pull the muffler off. Just loosen it and take it off a bit. Okay, here we go. Now it's and that's the first one. I put it away, we don't use it anymore. Now we do the same with the lower one. You see, after the upper muffler is removed, the lower bolts are easily accessible. So I just take these out now, and then we can remove the lower muffler. So I also removed the lower bolts now here. The clamp is loose already, so we can take the muffler out. Again, I use my towel just to make sure I don't burn my fingers. And you see the muffler is loose, we can just carefully take it off. Have you noticed I rotated the muffler a bit, because if you don't rotate it, try to pull it backwards, the bracket here will hit here. So to get it out you need to twist it a bit and then you can take it off. It's the same one on the top, you have to twist a bit then take it off. If you don't twist it, it will just stuck. Okay, the mufflers are gone. Now we go to the headers. Next step would be removal of the heat shields first. So we have to loosen the bolts for the heat shields. We start with the rear one. These are 3 bolts. One here, one there, and then there's here one on the back on the bottom. When you loosen these, or after you've loosened these, you can take off the heat shield. So again, yeah, there will be other people telling you, oh, but you don't have to loosen the heat shield, you can take it off with the heat shields attached, which is generally correct, but you run the risk of damaging the stuff, so it's much better to take it off first and take everything apart. Okay, so I opened the clamps. Have a look here. You see, I don't only use them, I open them really completely. It's necessary to be able to take the exhaust off, you see. All the clamps are completely open. So now you can just pull the heat shield off actually. And here we go. It's just really, these are very sensitive, very easy to scratch, so be careful, handle it well. And now we do the same with the front. It's basically the same, we just loosen the clamps. One clamp is here. Then there's another one here. And then there's one here. Yeah, you can see, I hope you can see it, it's here. Also just 3 clamps, and after these are off I can take the heat shield off. So I loosen these again now, and once the bolts are loose, I'll come back and I'll show you how to take the heat shield off. I've loosened the clamps, so it's again just the 3, one here, one here, one here. I open them completely. Not only loosen the bolts, you have to open the clamps completely. So now the heat shield is loose, and you can just pull it off. No trick to it, just pull it and make sure you don't hit anything while you do so, so make sure you don't scratch anything. So I put this away. So we remove the heat shields. What we do now is we unplug the O2 sensors. So there's one on each header. The rear one is here in the back, and it's actually quite easy. You see the cable here? The connector is directly here on the bottom. So you just pull on the little lid on the connector. And that's it already. So that one is unplugged. That was really simple. We just have to do the same one in the front now. The front sensor is here. See that? So you follow the cable, and the connector is down here under the brake cylinder. But it's actually really easy to reach. You just need to, again, pull the little lid here on the connector. And that's it already. So that's pretty simple and straightforward, much better than the last Softail. Now we're actually ready to take off the header. So there are no brackets here on the header or anything. It's just the 4 bolts on the cylinder head. But there's a little trick to it. To be able to reach the bolt here on top, you need to loosen the radiator. So that's a bit more complicated. I show you now how to do this. So what we do now is we have to loosen the radiator here a bit. The only reason to do so is that we want to reach the upper bolt here on the cylinder head in the back. If you really want to, you could probably use an angled wrench and go in here from the other side, and you might be able to reach it, but it's really complicated and very easy to break the nut and the bolt. So the best way is just to loosen the radiator once. To do so, first you need to first take off this cover. The cover is just held here with this bolt. See, now it's coming loose already. Okay, so the cover is off. Okay, so I removed the cover, and now we have to loosen the radiator. It's actually just held with this one bolt here on top. You just take this one bolt out, and on the bottom are 2 rubber mounts. So you take the bolt out, then you can pull the radiator out of the rubber mounts and it's loose. So I'll show you once how to do this. So the bolt is out. Now this is a bit loose already, and you can just move it up. You see now it's out on the bottom, and you can just move this a bit. All that's required is to move it a bit, that you can go in here later with a tool to loosen the bolt, and that's it already. So what we do now is I get the proper extension and the proper tool, and then I'll show you how to take off. So we're about to take out this bolt now. So first thing I did is I took an old towel and I wrapped it here around the frame rail, because when you put the tool in you might just scratch, otherwise the frame rail is a bit complicated. So then you need this. It's a long extension with a flexible end here, and you use this. You go here from the top, go onto the bolt, you pull a bit on the radiator, and then you end up with this. So now we take show once how it is. So nut, flex piece, extension, wrench. And this way you can remove this bolt. So all this trouble just for this one bolt on top. And here we go. Take it off again. And now we can do the other three. This one here. All done already. Second one. Now the two on the back. Back is rather simple, they're very easily to reach, so easily reachable, good access, no problem. Third one, and now the last one here on the bottom. Last one. Now the exhaust is loose and we can take it off. So I support it a bit with my hand to make sure it doesn't fall down. Loosen the flanges here. First. And second. No, come here, you can just take it off. And that's it. So the flanges and the clips need to be reused in our exhaust, so we need to take these off now. I'll show you once how to do that. So now we take off the clips and flanges and O2 sensors from the original exhaust. We all need to reuse these parts. These are two pieces. It's a clip and a flange plate, which you can separate. It's actually rather simple. All you need is some pliers. You pull, and that's the clip. Then you can take off the flange, and same on the back. The clip on top, pliers, pull, clip is off, flange is off. And now to the O2 sensors, they just screw them. It's really simple. You just take a 40mm wrench. First one. Second one. And we can put this part away. But I want to show you something before we continue here. I'll first show you this on this one. Have a look. That's the end flange on the original Harley exhaust. So what Harley does there is they take the pipe and they mold it to this little cone shape here on the end. So why they do this? That eases assembly. It makes assembly in the factory really, really easy because it doesn't really matter if the angle is a bit off, it always fits on. In the engine are also half-rounded gaskets which are on the inside conical, just like this one. So, but there's a huge problem with this because when the end here directly which goes to the engine is rather small because it steps down in size, so that reduces flow. So there's not that much air going through there as possibly could because this piece actually is like a bottleneck. And the second problem is this whole shape with the cone, this little edge here, is also imprinted into the inside of the pipe. So when the air flows in, the gases flow through the pipe here, you have a lot of turbulences in this area, and it's directly at the exhaust valve of the engine. That's really bad for performance. So that's nice for assembly and it saves costs and everything in the factory, but that's no good if you want to have performance. So what we do is this. We weld. It's a little machined welded piece which we put to the end of our exhaust, which is completely flat. So it doesn't have this cone. This one gives you really the maximum possible inner diameter, so the flow is best, and it's also completely straight on the inside. There's no edge, no nothing. So the gases come from the engine and they flow smoothly into the exhaust. There are no turbulences, so this is much better for performance. It's much better for flow. You get actually just this little difference already makes a noticeable difference in performance. But there's an important point. The gaskets which are on the engine, the original gaskets in the engine, are made to follow this shape, so they will not work with our exhaust. You need to pull the gaskets in the engine and install special ones. These ones here. They are available directly from Harley Davidson. These are called Screaming Eagle performance gaskets. They cost like 10 bucks a pair. They shape different than the stock ones. These ones are thinner than the stock ones and they're completely flat. And I'll show you these ones. They just match our exhaust perfectly. So these ones will not work with the original exhaust, they only work with performance aftermarket exhaust like ours. So it's really important that you get these. Without these gaskets you cannot install our exhaust system. So I show you once how to install these gaskets on the engine. So what I'm going to do now is that we'll install these new exhaust gaskets. What you need to remove to the old one is a hook like this. Hope you can see this. So all you have to do is you go in with the hook into the exhaust port and you go behind the gasket which is in there and just pull it out. It's pretty simple. Now I'll also show you once the main difference. First of all, look at the thickness difference. Completely. These were completely different size. These ones are like more than double the thickness. And you see on the inside, they're cone shaped. So they're very thin here and very fat on the bottom. If you would try to install our exhaust with this gasket, it would just, the length would be not correct, so the whole exhaust wouldn't align, and it wouldn't seal, it would leak, the angle would be off, so just, it won't work. Do not use these. It doesn't work. No. Use these ones. Take them, just push them into the port, and that's it already. So I'm going to do the same one now up front. Take my hook, go in behind the gasket with the hook, pull. Here we are. Really simple, really straightforward. New gasket, put it in, push it into the port to the bottom, and we're done. We nearly can install the new exhaust. We just have to remove the old exhaust bracket first. I have to say something to this. You see, some models of the new Softail have the passenger pack mount here on this exhaust bracket. So, as we need to remove that bracket, you'll lose this passenger pack. If you do want to have a passenger, you need to have a new bracket, which is especially made for our exhaust. These are available separately. They don't come with the exhaust set. They do not come with the exhaust set. I need to make this clear. So, if you do want to have passenger packs on this bike, you need to have a new bracket which is available separately from us. Please contact us. Okay? So I'm going now to take this off. I just need to, it's just 2 bolts here and there. Hope you can see these. So I'm going to take now a suitable Allen key to get these out. So we're going to remove now this bracket. All you need is an Allen key or a wrench like this. It's just 2 bolts. Just go in here. Oh, that's really tight. First, now the second one here. And that's it. We put this piece away right now, we don't need it. And then I'll show you how to install the exhaust system. Okay, we removed the original exhaust already. I replaced the gaskets already. So what we do now is to prepare the headers. So we install the black set on this bike here. Very first thing to do is you take a bit masking tape and you wrap the area here around the hats, because when you install the flanges, it's very easy to scratch up this black surface finish. On the stainless ones, it's not that important because they don't scratch that easily. but on the black ones it really makes a difference. So you wrap it, take the original flange, that's the original Harley part, put it over here, and you'll notice when you put it, this is a bit bigger. Our pipe is a bit bigger than the stock pipe. So on the stock pipe you have quite a big gap between the flange and the pipe, and our one, it's just about the same size. It fits very tightly. So we made the pipe really big to make sure we increase the flow through the exhaust system. So flange is over. Now the clip, it's a stock clip, and because I just said it's bigger in diameter, this clip is really tight now. It's much more difficult to install it on the new exhaust than it was to install it on a stock exhaust system. You need to actually apply really quite a bit of force to get it over there. And here we go. And now the O2 sensors. So luckily on this model the O2 sensors are the same front and back, so it doesn't matter if you swap them, it's exactly the same piece. Just screw it in here. Just a 40mm wrench. Tighten it. And the rear header is done. I'm going to do now the same to the front header, it's exactly the same process. And after that's done I show you how to install the exhaust bracket. Okay, now we install the new exhaust bracket. That's this piece here. And that doesn't install to the frame, this installs to the gearbox on these two screws here. I hope you can see them. So it's actually really simple. You take out these two screws, and then we put the bracket underneath there. Little word of caution, because it might drip a bit oil from here. So won't be a lot, but it's possible that a bit of oil comes out of here. So maybe have a piece of rag laying around, or put like something underneath here in case it drips a bit, that you don't make everything dirty. It won't be a lot, it's just worst case just a few drops. So bracket, use the original bolts. Put them in here, and now we just tighten the bolts. It's pretty straightforward. Okay, I prepared the front header. I installed the O2 sensor and put in the clip and the flange. So what we do now is we put this on the bike. It's pretty straightforward. Put this into the port, put the flange on the little bolts there, and we're good to go. So just make sure you don't scratch anything. Get it in there. And it's stuck, and here we go. So it's roughly in place. I support it. You see I support the pipe here a bit with my legs to make sure it doesn't hit the engine. Then I take the nuts. These are the stock ones which I took off earlier. And it's really tight up front here with this radiator. So first one. No. Yeah, of course I dropped it. There's my extension. It's easier for the other one to do it. It's my old extension. Put the nut in there. And okay, here we go. So these two nuts are on there. It's still loose, you can see. It's still moving. It's just roughly in place right now. We'll still tighten it up and align it later. It's good for now. Now we do the same thing with the rear. With our rear header, O2 sensors installed, clip and flanges on, and the idea is the same. I go in here, put it in the port, then put the flange in place, take the original nuts, and yeah, I take my extension again. With the extension it's just so much easier. So the nut in the extension on there, first. Now the second one. Okay, so again, it's loosely in place. You can see it can still move. It's not tightened or anything. It's roughly in place. And I'm going to get a towel now because I'm going to cover this piece here. Because later when we align the exhaust, you might touch this cover, the chrome here, with the exhaust pipe. I don't want to scratch it up, so I can get a towel once to cover this. Next step, two headers are roughly in place. Both are not aligned, so far they're just loose. Next step would be to install the merge collector. So that's this piece here. It's spring held. You can see the spring mounts. It's actually really simple. Basically, you just slide it on here. Okay. So far we don't put the springs on because I still want to have this adjustability. You can see you can still move it because we still need to adjust the position a bit when the muffler comes on. So right now just leave it like this. It's just loosely put together. Everything can still move. A trick, if you have trouble get the alignment, or if it's rather tight to move, it's rather difficult to move, you can put a bit grease in here, just in the, before you put it on. You just use your finger, put a bit grease on it, and put a bit grease inside these two tubes. This makes everything much easier. The grease will just burn off the first time you turn on the bike. Once it gets hot, the grease will burn off. It'll smell a bit and stink a bit, but it really eases assembly. So if you have trouble getting the alignment correctly, just do it. It really helps. So we're nearly there. Next step is the muffler. What you do is basically you just slide it on here. So now we need to align everything. You can see this, there's the gap here. It just means the position here is not really correct. So what we need to do now is, I'm starting to twist and turn here the headers. And then also the muffler on the Y-pipe. And now actually we're good. It looks good. So remember, you need to twist in two positions. On the one hand, you need to twist the muffler here on this Y-pipe. This can rotate. This moves the bracket this way, up and down. And much more important is, if you twist here, I just twist it, you see that. The whole exhaust moved outwards. So if you twist here on this Y section, on the merge section, you can actually move the exhaust in and outwards. So that makes a huge difference. I mean, can you see how just show you. Do you see this? Do you see how much the header moves? So that's all in the position of this piece. So this gives you a lot of adjustment room, but also it makes installation a bit more troublesome because you actually need to do a lot, adjust it correctly to have everything lined up. Very important is, if it's not lined on here, do not put the bolts in. Really, spend the time, align everything. If here it's not aligned properly and you start bolting everything up and tightening it, then you put a lot of stress on the exhaust, which is not good. It won't last that long if you do this. So don't do it. Really spend the time, adjust everything properly, make sure everything aligns like this, like it does now. It's really nice. We don't have a gap here. Everything, the holes line up perfectly. We're good. So what we can do now is we can actually fasten everything in place. So what you need now is this piece. Take the bolts out once I show you this. Placed this part already, so sorry I didn't take this on camera because basically you could only see my hands here. Have a look. Come here with the camera once. You see? I put this little piece with the nuts in the exhaust inside here, and then I take the bolts and I put the bolts here through the bolt holes from the outside in there. One is already in. The first one here is already in, you can see. And now I put in the second one, and then I get an Allen key to tighten them. It's just really difficult to show on camera because basically my hands would cover everything. It's really tight space. So I try to show you one with the back. So I take the bolt. On the inside I hold this bracket here, and now it can move. It's difficult. puts it through here. Okay. Okay, actually that was it already. Okay, I've bolted up the bracket here. Now two more things to do. Actually 3 more things. First thing is we install the springs. There's 3 springs here for this exhaust system. There's a short one. The short one goes here on the bottom. Then there are 2 long ones, and the 2 long ones go here on the back. They connect the headers with the collector. One on top, one on the bottom. So after these are on, we plug the O2 sensors, and then we still have to tighten the bolts on the cylinder heads. They're still loose. So I start with the springs. All you need is like a spring puller. It's like a little hook, and I show you how to do this. You put the spring in one side in, take the hook, pull the other way around, put it in there, and now there's an important step. You use some pliers and you close the springs on the end. If you don't close them, they'll pop off, and then you don't have springs anymore. They will come off rather fast. So use pliers, close the springs, and you're good. I'll do the same now with the 2 on the back. Was the first one already. Notice how the first one's here. You see this? It's to hide it a bit, so it looks nicer. It's just here. And now the second one goes here. Hook again, take the spring, pull it, and done. Now I take my pliers and I close the springs. First one. Second. Third. And now that one's a bit difficult to reach. Yeah. That's really difficult to reach from here. Okay, so springs are on. Now we have to plug the O2 sensors back. It's really simple. Just the same way you unplug them in the beginning. Just take it, put it back into the original connector. And here's like a little clip. It's really hard to see, but here in the back is a little clip. And you have to push the original connector. You see? I'll show you this. You see this piece here? This one? This slides on a little clip here in the back. Like it's, I guess you can't really see this on the video, but you should slide it back on there. It just looks much nicer. So I just do this now. Oh, it's tight. You have to get your hand in here. Take a look where the clip is. Just feel it with your fingers. And then push the connector back on there. And it's something you have to do basically blind, because when you're sitting here like this, you can't see it. Okay, so now we do the same in the front. Here's the cable. It goes down here, and the connector just sits here on the bottom. It's exactly the same as the time when we took it off. Oh, which way around? This way around. And it's in. Okay. And the exhaust is on the bike. Check it out. A few little things just to make sure before we forget it. I took off the little masking tape, which I've wrapped around the headers. I just took it off completely, because if you leave it on there, it will burn to the exhaust now, of course. I tightened the 4 nuts here, the studs on the cylinder head. I put the cover back on. And now we're actually good to go. We can go out and make a sound check. One word in regards to black exhaust. First time you turn on the bike and the first time this exhaust gets hot, it'll smoke. It'll smoke and smell for a few minutes. That's because this coating will cure once the exhaust gets hot the first time. So don't worry about it, it's perfectly normal, it will stop in a moment. We'll take the bike out now and we do a little sound check and then we're good to go actually.